You would not believe the comment I had during negotiation and contract. Welcome back to Soul Quest. Let's talk about getting negged and how to counter them during negotiation and contracts. Now, sometimes our palms get sweaty and spaghetti comes out of our pocket when we hear negative comment during negotiation. But what if I tell you, if you wait to the end of the video, you can come in there with confidence and get your raise. Now, first, let's start with the most common one, and that is other expat renew their contract without a pay raise, and you should as well. I just think this comment itself is a bit ridiculous and it gives a bit of a back burner for some gaslighting. And now the first thing you gotta do is, of course, stay calm. Do not put your emotion into the whole negotiation. Now, the one that really worked out for me is that I stated, I bring out good publicity for the company, I join events, blah, 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 blah. Whereas comparison, other expat didn't do this and that. And usually there will be no comments regarding to that situation, and they will try to find another way to neg you out of the whole contract. And the next one is a bit strong, and that is China opened up their border, and there's a lot of new expat coming to China, which means the market value of expat working in China as a teacher is going down. Now, that is a very strong comment that's hard to counter. But they are forgetting one factor, and that is you survived China here for a year so far. But if you are a first year, then that comment might just apply to you and there's no counter to that. But if you are a second year, which means you already have experience and you know how the system works, less training, less money for the company, less worry. Because when it comes to first year in China, there's a lot of resources needs to be put in order for them to assimilate in China. And if you are a second year, that is less money for them to kind of deal with and more money for them to siphon out of your salary. Now, when it comes to this comment, make sure you state your experience when it comes to this situation and how much money they are able to save. There'll be along the comment like, I understand there's a lot of expats, but I believe that I require less training. You want to state your relation with the school, your relation with the class, or somewhat along that line. Because when it comes to China, I think relationship is the most important thing for job security. Always keep in mind you are a product for the company and why they can save money by increasing your salary and keeping you around the company. Yeah, basically there's a template for it and you weave around that comments. For the next one could apply for a lot of new expats and also second year expat trying to get a more advanced job. And that is you do not have the sufficient experience for this type of salary, yada, yada, yada. Now, the best way to swerve through this comment is to tell them how long you're intending to stay in China. Now, of course, experience does matter when it comes to these companies, but they prefer people who stay here long term rather than going here for 1 year for a gap year, which most people do, because this is where they spend the most money and the most resource. Not only that, they have to pay for them to get here, pay for them to get their papers done, and also pay the case handler to take care of them in case of emergency happens. Now, which often happens for a lot of first year. Now, taking care of a second and third year is basically non-existent since they know what they're doing, and all they got to do is just, kind of cut down a bit of a check for their payment for getting into China. Now, let's just say you are a first year and you want to get more out of this. All you got to do is ask for a 2-year contract and increase the salary. And usually 2-year contract is more enticing for a lot of companies since it's a more stable person to kind of earn their money. And of course, you lose the opportunity for a renegotiation in the next year, but in return, you have a higher salary for a first year entry coming to China. Now, as for the last comment, I feel like this is the most left-handed comment that a lot of people are not expected to be hit by. And that is your nationality. They're gonna say along the line, you are a non-native speaker, so that's why they're gonna pay you less. Now, when it comes to this, I think it's a bit harder to counter out here in China. I feel like mild racism still exists out here. If you are not of the skin color, or if you are not like a native speaker, it's going to be harder for you to renegotiate on contract or either find a new job in general. One counter that I heard that worked well and effectively is that talk about your experience with the school and your relationship with the school. And you want to keep the fact that school likes you and this might hurt the relationship of the company and the school if you were to walk out on this negotiation. But yeah, the main gist of it, never put your emotion into this negotiation, and the sad reality of it, think yourself as a product for the company to sell to ESL training center, schools, or either company. And that way you have a lot more clear mind on how to weave throughout these negotiations. But yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll reply to you as soon as possible. And if you have any uncomfortable story that you want to talk about as well, comment down below as well. I would love to know. And until next time, SoulQuest logging out. Peace.